Go.
I'm gonna write this image shows protests for equal rights during the 1960s, when America's society was segregated. Similarly, this image shows protests against World Trade Organization in 1999, the Battle of Seattle, that demanded for environmental protection and fair labor practices. Lastly, this image shows women's movement for women's rights and reproductive freedom in response to Donald Trump entering office in 2017.
Based on these images, it is clear that different times bring different issues that need to be addressed and focused on. This presentation will discuss the struggles and issues that each generation faces and how it affects the United States. We primarily focus on these four generations, which are the baby boomers, Gen X, Generation Y, and Generation Z. This quote by the U.S. Senator Bernal shows the four biggest generations in America are the baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Y.
Starting from the political perspective, this information was conducted and collected in 2024, which shows the political views by generation. A common trend that you can see in the graph is that over generations, the percent of people who identify as conservatives decreased by each generation. But another surprising detail that you can see is that over the years, people who don't know or who are not identified with any political party decrease as well. This can be problematic because when you are trying to address an issue and two groups are fighting over one perspective and one group does not have any perspective at all, this can lead to issues within generations and between generations as well if there's similar issues being faced. Next up, this information was collected and conducted by the Pew Research Center in the year 2018. The information can directly be correlated to the information that you saw in the previous graph. In context, liberals favor more government involvement, while conservatives favor less government involvement. As you can see, Gen Z and millennials have decided that the government should do more to solve problems, and this makes sense. As you could see in the previous graph, they had a less conservative rate. This is why younger generations tend to favor more government involvement in economical and social issues as compared to older generations. An example of whether the government should be or should not be involved in United States society is the topic of immigration. This topic has led to heated debates and sparked outrage across the United States due to programs being implemented and wide ranges of views being formed. As you can see in the graph, which was conducted by Pew Research Center in 2017, a few months after Donald Trump's first inauguration into office, it's about what percentage of people say immigrants today strengthen our country and because of their hard work and talents. As you can see in the graph, millennials have the highest percentage of saying that statement by having a 79%. Although other generations also have a high percentage, millennials have the most.
Moving forward, racial discrimination has been a major issue in American society. For example, the killing of George Floyd, which caused an immense outrage for all races, produced protests and movements. Furthermore, the graph made by Pew Research shows the percentage across generations which say our country needs to continue making changes to give people of color and whites rights in 2017. Newer generations likely see discrimination as a major issue still occurring in the United States, while older generations may not focus and see it as much. Additionally, gender-based issues is another problem in American society, primarily in younger people. A report conducted by GLAAD in 2023 found that 70% of LGBTQ people have faced discrimination, which is 24% more in 2020. This quote by former United States Secretary of Health and Human Services says that discrimination shouldn't exist amongst gender and races. Younger generations are becoming more educated due to opportunities compared to older generations. As you can see in this graph, younger generations have completed a bachelor's degree more than older generations.
In 2018 through 19, 28% of undergraduate students took out federal student loans, which is up from 23% in 2001 and 2002, according to the data in College Board. On this graph, it shows that Gen Z pay more in tuition costs than millennials. This quote by the policy director of UC Berkeley Office Institution states that young people face many issues with a political system that is unresponsive to their needs. Just how we looked at issues for younger generations, it is also important to see issues for older generations. Like the economic insecurity, 5.9 Americans live below the poverty line in 2022. Second, the food shortages, 9% of all households with an older adult were food insecure in 2022. Lastly, the healthcare and long-term care costs increased sharply and is a problem for older adults.
After looking at all those issues, we came up with the focus of in what ways can society address the different struggles and expectations between generations to create better understanding and cooperation. We came up with two solutions for that. One is to create local intergenerational community centers, and the second one is to advocate for a national education and media awareness campaign. Some pros that we have for our first solution is that it helps reduce isolation and loneliness between generations, especially for older people. An article published by the PubMed Center on the National Library of Medicine states that when intergenerational programs are implemented, it is an opportunity for older adults to connect better with younger people across generations. And the second pro is that all generations benefit at the same time. Young people will gain skills like guidance and job, while older people get help with retirement plans, purpose of why they should join a community, as well as decreasing segregation. The pros for our second solution about education and media awareness campaign is that it helps reduce stereotypes and misunderstandings between generations, and teaching people why each generation thinks differently instead of thinking on the same purpose. According to the National Association for Media Literacy Education, studies have shown that when media literacy programs are implemented, students' skepticism toward advertisements promote critical thinking about gender roles and media portrayals. This leads to more self-positive images and healthier mindsets. Another pro is that it strengthens social conditions, so other solutions like our first one about intergenerational community centers work better. However, there are limitations to our solution. The first one is that these intergenerational community centers alone cannot fix federal level issues like we discussed, like healthcare costs, social security, and employment. They mainly help on a community plus social connection level, getting better to make the community more bonded. And then the second thing is that they require community funding and community involvement. Just like any other center, if support drops or budgets gets cut, the centers won't last long term. Our limitation to our second solution is that unequal access to media and education. Across the United States, there are many different communities who get different levels of funding from the government. Some communities are poor while some communities are rich. This will cause an unequal access to media and education, causing some people to not be fully aware of the issues that different generations face. And the second is that it could make more people aware of the issue, but without real policy action like asking Congress for legislation to be passed or protests or movements like you saw earlier, the problem can still mostly stay unchanged. This is how it works.